What if Monster Island wasn't the hero, but the villain all along? This recap is about to start a war in the comments. The film begins during the Second World War, where a Japanese businessman named Saito, along with other captives, is sent back to Japan to serve as slave labor. Unlike the others, Saito is kept separate. Soon, 2 guards escort him to the ship's commander. The commander glares at him with hatred and says, "Treasoning your country is unforgivable, but the death penalty will be too easy for you." Just then, another prisoner named Bronson, a British soldier who deeply despises the Japanese, is brought in. The commander announces a cruel punishment. The 2 men will be chained together for the rest of their lives and eventually executed that way. Soldiers shackle their feet. Bronson screams, "Kill me if you want, but don't tie me to a Japanese." His pleas go ignored. Suddenly, the ship comes under attack and chaos erupts. Amid the confusion, Bronson and Saito seize the opportunity to escape, fighting their way out. A submarine fires a missile at the ship, destroying it completely. Only the commander and the 2 prisoners survive the explosion. As the commander draws his gun to kill them, Bronson drags Saito overboard just before the ship explodes. Hours later, Bronson swims to a deserted island and collapses from exhaustion. The next morning, Saito wakes up, thinking it was all a nightmare. But the heavy chain on his leg reminds him it's all real. He finds Bronson unconscious nearby and a soldier's body washed ashore. Taking the soldier's gun, Saito briefly considers shooting Bronson to free himself, but before he can act, Bronson wakes up and attacks him. As they fight, a terrifying scream echoes from the sea. Suddenly, a monstrous creature bursts out of the water, dragging Bronson away. The creature is fast, powerful, and armed with razor-sharp claws. Saito fires his gun, scaring the monster back into the water. Both men, now wounded, realize something far more dangerous than their hatred for each other lurks on the island. Reluctantly, they agree to work together to survive. Bronson, still shaken, asks, "What was that monster?" Though Saito doesn't understand English, he grasps the fear in Bronson's tone. The situation feels hopeless, and Saito briefly contemplates suicide, but Bronson stops him, saying, "Are you crazy? We must fight that thing together." He gives Saito his last bullet, and they begin scavenging supplies from the wreckage. Bronson finds cigarettes and offers one to Saito, who refuses. Later, Bronson discovers the body of a young comrade and mourns his death, blaming the Japanese for the war. Even though Saito doesn't understand his words, he feels Bronson's pain and offers him water. Night falls. They set up camp. The chain between them makes movement difficult, but Saito helps Bronson by offering him a shoe from a dead soldier, which Bronson refuses to wear. Hungry and exhausted, they cook and share crabs, slowly beginning to trust one another. Bronson teaches Saito how to pronounce his name, and Saito shows him how to weaken the chain. Working together, they finally break free. Overjoyed, they shout in celebration, but their noise attracts something in the darkness. They go to investigate and encounter 2 Japanese soldiers with a prisoner. Bronson fears Saito will betray him, but instead, Saito hands him his weapon and tells him to hide. The soldiers, unaware that Saito is branded a traitor, approach him. When they remove the cloth from his wounded leg, they recognize him. They demand to know where the enemy prisoner is. Saito lies, pointing to a fake grave and claiming Bronson is dead. Before the soldiers can act, a loud, monstrous roar shakes the ground. Panic sets in, and one soldier goes to investigate, only to be ambushed by the creature hiding in a cave. The monster rips his arm off, killing him brutally. Hearing the screams, Bronson attacks one of the soldiers, but before he can shoot, the creature decapitates the soldier and throws his head toward them. The scene turns chaotic as the monster slaughters everyone nearby. Bronson and Saito flee into the forest, running for their lives. Bronson wastes his last bullet, and the creature grabs him by the throat, ready to kill him. But Saito intervenes, saving his life. Both men escape, injured and exhausted, collapsing near a waterfall. The next morning, Saito painfully removes a sharp object embedded in his chest, while Bronson struggles to climb out of the water below. The creature's scream echoes across the island. The two men, separated but alive, continue searching for each other. Along the way, Bronson encounters a massive crocodile, but stays still until it retreats. Then he spots the creature nearby, tending to its wounds. To his shock, Bronson realizes the monster can think and heal itself. Meanwhile, Saito stumbles upon the corpse of another man who appears to have killed one of the creatures. Taking the dead man's gun and sword, he sets out to hunt the monster. Both men separately discover the wreckage of a crashed plane. Bronson finds a flare gun, a lighter, and a bomb attached to the wing. An idea begins to form. When Saito finally finds him, the two go inside a cave and discover a female creature guarding her eggs. Saito warns him, "It's a female. Stay away. It's dangerous." But Bronson insists on killing it. Ignoring Sato's warnings, Bronson decides to use the bomb. They haul it to the creature's lair, but the trigger is damaged. As they struggle to fix it, the female returns. Realizing someone must stay behind to activate it, Saito volunteers to sacrifice himself, but Bronson refuses. The monster attacks, and a violent battle breaks out. Saito stabs the creature, while Bronson uses the hammer to strike it repeatedly. They manage to wound it, but it disappears into the shadows. Back in the cave, the creature ambushes them again. Saito shoots it in the eye and then fires at the eggs, destroying them. Bronson, mortally wounded, gives Saito his belongings and tells him to escape. The creature cradles one of its dead offspring as Bronson activates the bomb. The explosion kills them both. Saito, watching from afar, mourns his fallen friend. But then, he hears another terrifying scream. The creature is still alive. Determined to finish it, Saito prepares for a final confrontation. The female monster lunges at him on the beach, but he fights back fiercely, slicing open its abdomen with his sword. Instead of finishing it off, he lowers his weapon and walks toward the sea. Exhausted and bleeding, he collapses. When Saito wakes up, he's aboard an American ship. An officer questions him through a Japanese translator, asking what crime he committed. Saito admits, "I killed my own commander because he was sending my comrades to die needlessly." The officer also asks about Bronson, and Saito reflects on their unlikely friendship. Two enemies who became brothers in survival. When asked if anyone else survived, Saito answers, "No one." As the ship sails away, the camera pans over the island. Beneath the trees and in the waters, more creatures move in the shadows, alive, breeding, and unstoppable. The nightmare is far from over in Monster Island. It's easy to assume the creatures are the villains. They're terrifying, deadly, and seemingly unstoppable. But when you look closer, the real villain might not be the monsters at all. The humans brought war, destruction, and greed to the island long before the creatures ever attacked. Saito and Bronson's journey shows that the monsters were only defending their home, their offspring, and their territory. The humans, driven by vengeance and fear, invaded their world and disrupted its balance. In that sense, Monster Island flips the script. The so-called monsters were only reacting to human cruelty. Oh, maybe the real horror isn't the beast in the water, but what war turns people into. Got a better theory? Drop it in the comments. The best take gets a shout out in our next video.